will now reconvene in open session. The time is 6:02. We thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight. At this time, we'd respectfully ask you to turn off the sound of your cell phones. May I remind anyone wishing to address the board that they must have completed a public comment card before the start of public portion of tonight's meeting, indicating the agenda item or topic about which they wish to speak. As your Board of Trustees, we're here to set goals for the district, listen to reports presented by the superintendent and his designees, approve and review the budget, approve certain personnel appointments and contracts, and make policy for the district. Management is a responsibility of the superintendent. It is the board's responsibility to govern the affairs of the district and ensure that the district is moving forward in meeting the vision and the goals that are set on an annual basis. Meeting times for the board meetings are posted on AISD website at AbileneISD.org. The public is invited to attend. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Jordan Zemer to come, who's our Director of Communications, to come and lead us in prayer and flag pledges.
Let's pray, y'all. Heavenly Father, thank you once again for another opportunity to come together as a team and a community to do what's right for our kids and their families. Tonight, Father, I ask you for courage for our board members, for our superintendent and administrators, for our parents and teachers and staff and all who are in our community. Would you give us the courage to continue to do what's right for our children? That's what we have the opportunity to do here, and we'll continue to do so. So thank you, Father, for bringing us together for this special mission. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen. If you'll stand and join me in the pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Be seated.
We'll now move to item 3C, Board Superintendent Announcements. Dr. Kuhn.
Okay, I've got several things I wanted to announce tonight, so you guys are aware of what's coming up. First of all, tomorrow night at Abilene Christian University at the Boone Theater, the Voice of Taylor Choir, 85 kids strong, will be performing. And that performance is kind of a prelude to their trip on Thursday to San Antonio. I want to make sure everybody knows the Voice of Taylor is one of 6 elementary choirs to be invited to perform at the state convention of TMEA, which is the Texas Music Educators Association. So we're extremely proud of Taylor, those kids, and wish them well on their trip to San Antonio on Thursday to perform. Also, I want to make sure, board, that you knew, if you go to our website, up at the top on the right-hand side, you'll see the word calendars. And if you click on that, you'll see calendars with like open house dates and things like that. But if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there is specifically a fine arts calendar that shows all the upcoming events. And there's a lot of fine arts things besides the Voice of Taylor coming up that you can be aware of, from drama to orchestra. And then also down where that fine arts calendar is, there's also an athletics calendar. So anytime you are wondering what's coming up, there's always something going on in Abilene ISD, and you can find it there. Speaking of athletics, we have the last regular season basketball game is between Abilene High and Cooper, and that is coming up this week. And also, just so you know, in terms of what sports are going on right now, we have soccer, powerlifting, track, softball, baseball, golf, tennis, gymnastics, and I believe esports are all going on. Swimming and diving just wrapped up recently, so lots and lots going on in Abilene ISD. Also, February 14th and the 17th, those are professional development days for Abilene ISD staff, so there will be no classes for students on the 14th and the 17th. That's a Friday and a Monday. And then spring break is coming up March 10th through the 14th. March 10th through the 14th. So lots of busy times as we head into spring.
Thank you. Are there any more announcements from the board? Well, now let's please just turn your attention to the screens for our teaching. We call it our Teaching Minute, which we're very proud to highlight exemplary teaching going on in our district. Enjoy.
I am Richard Green at Alcorta Elementary. I teach 4th grade. This is my 11th year. Okay, this is a lesson that's really near and dear to my heart. So we just had Martin Luther King Day. We're going through as a class and we're breaking down the figurative language that Dr. King uses in the midst of his speech. His speech is absolutely jam-packed with it. Now, we talked about this one yesterday. We're gonna go ahead and work through this one together. After looking up at the definition, what is Martin Luther King's belief about how people should receive justice in America? My mom was actually one of the first students in Abilene Independent School District to go to an integrated school, so this is actually a lesson that's pretty important. We'll be covering TEK 4.10D, where students are expected to describe the author's use of imagery, so like literal and figurative language, as well as like similes, metaphors, and sound devices such as alliteration and assonance, and be able to determine how it achieves specific purposes. Now, the Bank of Justice. Is there actually a Bank of Justice? You have 5 minutes as a group. I need you to talk it over with your group and come up with your best answer. Everyone should have very, very close to the same. Each one of them has a presentation, an assignment on their Chromebook, to where they are going to have an example of the figurative language. After they hear Dr. King say it, they're going to look to their screen, they'll be able to read it as well, and then they're going to be able to try to determine what was Dr. King's meaning based on that simile or metaphor. This is also a great opportunity for them to be able to edit and revise their work. So making sure the beginning of the sentences are capitalized, making sure your punctuation mark and your proper nouns are properly incorporated into your response. Like, I have one sister and one brother, but I have multiple brothers and sisters, as Dr. King is putting it. So, as a group, we're gonna go 5 minutes in, talk it over with your group. It took a lot of forethought. I want to make sure that the videos that I use, the footage that I used, and even the different resources that they have to work with really are beneficial to help them truly achieve understanding what Martin Luther King was trying to say in that message.
Thank you so much for putting that together for us. Next, we'll move on to item 4, recognitions. Dr. Zemer, coming right back up. He will be sharing with us our Employee Award recognitions.
Well, good evening, Madam President, Dr. Kuhn, and board. It's good to see you again. Yes, I have the honor of standing before you tonight and introducing a program to our community and also sharing some details with you about our new Employee Awards process and our first group, our inaugural group of Employee Awards recipients in this new program are with us here tonight. And so if you're a recipient and you're here and you can hear me right now, just be ready when I call your name to come up and join me, okay? You don't have to say anything, but just come stand behind me when I call your name, okay? Everybody got that? All right, so stand and smile. That's all you got to do. I got you. So, board, we want you to know the Employee Awards is an evolution. You may remember our Impact Awards process. The Employee Awards is an evolution of that process. We wanted to do 2 things with this new program. We wanted to tie the program more closely to our strategic priorities and vision, and we also wanted to recognize more employees. We wanted to give more people an opportunity to be celebrated for doing a fantastic job in service to our students and families. So you can see there's our vision statement, Equip Learners, Brighter Futures, and on the right side of your screen, you'll see our strategic priorities. And so what we were looking for when we went out for nominations for these awards was these things: someone who establishes a culture of collaboration in their classroom or in their workplace, someone who fosters active engagement with learners around them, someone who develops intentional partnerships and embodies these things that we think lead us to accomplishing that vision of equipping learners for brighter futures. So that's what this awards program is all about. And we have 6 distinct categories, and I'll show you the recipient in each of those categories in just a second. But if you would like to nominate someone that you know, or if you're listening tonight on our stream and you want to nominate someone, there's a web link right there, AbileneISD.org/employee awards. You can go to learn more about our recipients, and you can submit a name for yourself if you have someone that you think is worthy of recognition. So that's what this program is all about. So without further ado, I want to get you to meet our first round of recipients. So again, recipients, be ready to come up here and join me when I call your name. So first, in our auxiliary category is Miss Mary Rangel, who works student nutrition at Mann Middle School. Is she here tonight? Okay, well, if you join me in giving Mary a round of applause. In our next category, our paraprofessional category, Mrs. Kathy Spivey, and I did see her, and I'm super excited that I get to be the one to give Mrs. Spivey this award recognition tonight. She's so awesome, so I'm so glad to see you. She is serving as our secretary over at Hartford SAP. Yes, ma'am. You stand. No, not directly behind you. You followed instructions so well. That's why she's such a great employee. We love to have you. We love you so much. So I'm super excited for Miss Spivey. Also, Miss Victoria Smith in our student support category, who's our master family advocate. Oops. At Crockett Early Head Start, there she is. Good to see you again. In our substitute teacher category, Miss Georgia Smith from Bowie Elementary. Is Georgia here? There she is. And that was so sweet. You can see some of these photos that are on these slides are from our prize patrol, where we went around to campuses to surprise these folks. And Miss Smith had like her whole family showed up to celebrate her. So that was a super sweet moment. So very exciting. In our new teacher category, Mr. Alfonso Santoya. I see him over there, 5th grade at Elcourt Elementary School. That's an A+ reaction right there, Mr. Santoya. I'm loving that smile there. You were truly surprised. And then in our teacher category, Mr. Carl Wilcox, our teacher and assistant basketball coach at Cooper High School. Give him a round of applause. So recipients, thank you so much for what you do for Abilene ISD, for your students, for their families. We are so proud to get a chance to celebrate you. We do what we do with your support, your strength, and so just thank you so much for the great job and the great effort. So what we're going to do now is picture time, okay? Can you take a picture for me? All right, so board, they're going to come join you up here, right? We're going to take a quick photo.
Okay.
Join me right here.
What an awesome group of public servants you are.
Yes.
Thank y'all so much.
I would just like to say, we set the mission, the mission and the goals are set, but you guys carry it out, and we want to say thank you again.
Great. Yeah, y'all can move together. That's perfect. Our board is very used to making sure they're seen. I can't stand behind you. Yeah, Dr. Q knows. He's got the eye out. Okay, I'm going to take a couple pictures, y'all. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. And one more. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. Give them a round of applause, y'all. Thank y'all. Great job. Thank you. Thank you. I know. Yeah. Did y'all plan that? It was very. They were together with the outfits. I noticed they were matching. So we will continue to bring more employee award recipients to you. Our goal is to bring employee award recipients to you every 6 weeks. And so that was the other change from Impact Awards, is want to do this on a every 6-week basis to make sure we're giving more of our people opportunity to be recognized for their hard work. So thank you so much for an opportunity to recognize them tonight. Recipients, thank you for being here. We really appreciate you guys.
Dr. Ziemer is going to stay up there
Yes,
and
I
go
am.
ahead and introduce us to someone very special amongst our midst.
That's right. So we have another opportunity to recognize an outstanding team member right now. So you may have heard about the 20 under 40 program from the Abilene Young Professionals. So AYP, Abilene Young Professionals, is a program of our Chamber of Commerce locally. And what they do, they have a 20 under 40 program that recognizes local leaders under the age of 40 who are excelling in their career fields. Nominees are chosen if they make an impact in their community, and this is from the AYP website. They want folks who are showing excellence in leadership, drive, vision, and notable entrepreneurship. And they say these are individuals who are not just doing a great job, they are elevating their profession in our region of Texas. I think it's outstanding that the Abilene Young Professionals and the Chamber of Commerce are giving these professionals an opportunity to be recognized in our community. And so tonight we have an outstanding recipient with us. This year, the 2025 class of 20 under 40 winners includes Mrs. Melissa Scott. So this award is a recognition by her community for her outstanding leadership at Stafford Elementary and for Abilene ISD families. And I want to read, I'm going to embarrass her just a little bit, I'm going to read her own words to you, okay? Instead, I promised her I wouldn't make her speak, okay? So I'm just going to read what she wrote to you instead. But I want you to hear from her what is on her bio on the 20 under 40 website on the Chamber of Commerce. This is how Mrs. Scott is representing Abilene ISD publicly in our community. She says, "Education is my calling, my mission. I am driven by the belief that education is not only a right, but a force that can change the trajectory of a child's life and, by extension, the world. I'm here to be part of their journey, to lift them up, and to make sure they know that no dream is too big and no obstacle is insurmountable. Would you guys give her a round of applause? And so to prop her up just a little bit more, I have Ms. Carrie Thornburg, who's going to say just a quick word about Melissa.
Good evening. So I stood up before Melissa, and hopefully no one thought I was the 20 under 40, because first of all, I'm not under 40. So that right there, I have the privilege of working alongside Melissa. She has been leading the way in innovation for our district for the past several years. What she's done over at Stafford is impressive, and we want to replicate it. She leads not just from the front, but also digs in. And anybody that works for her or with her will tell you that. So we are blessed with the blessing of Melissa Scott. Congratulations.
Okay, picture time. You can skip.
I was going to ask Carrie to get in. Okay, and then Melissa, I'll have you stand right in the middle, and then Dr. Kuhn, perfect. They're pros. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And then, thank you.
Great job. Congratulations. You ready?
Yes. Next, we'll have Ms. Allison Sims, Associate Superintendent for the Development of Human Resources, introduce to us some information on the Texas Association of School Personnel Administrators, or TASPA.
Yes, so TASPA is our statewide organization for all the HR people. And I would like Ms. Chris Bailey to come forward because it's unique that she is now president-elect for this organization. She has been extremely involved in this organization. In fact, was gone some last week for a board meeting in Austin, and she is leading the way amongst other HR professionals in our state, and I'm so proud of her, not just for what she does for our state in this organization, but also I just have to brag on her as an individual in my department. She is my go-to person for everything. I could not do my job without her, and she is outstanding in all that she does. And if you don't know that, you need to get to know Miss Chris Bailey. So congratulations to her.
I think it is super cool that we have an Abilene ISD person as president-elect of a statewide association, leading the way with Houston and Dallas and all those other schools, and Abilene ISD is there leading the way. I really appreciate you being able to step up, and obviously super talented. We're lucky to have you.
Yes, we are. All right, get your picture. You get to get a picture. And then okay. All right. No. Go first. He's killed me. All right, and then we'll have you right in the middle, Chris. Yes, maybe one little step over. Perfect. Okay. Yes. 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Let's move on now to item 5, oral communication from the public. The board encourages comments about the district from members of the public. Anyone wishing to address the board must have completed a public comment card before the start of the public portion of tonight's meeting, indicating the agenda item or topic about which they wish to speak. Oral communication from the public is governed by AISD policy BED local. Under the Texas Open Meetings Act, the board is not permitted to discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on the agenda for the meeting. A speaker will be given up to 5 minutes to address the board. If, however, the total number of speakers seeking to address the board at a meeting exceeds 5, the per speaker time limit may be reduced. In no event will a speaker be given less than 1 minute to address the board. Tonight we have 2 speakers, so we will not be adjusting the time. Dr. Kuhn will monitor the time and make the speaker aware of the time when it is up. So we'll give him a minute to explain that before our speakers become up.
So there's a monitor at the podium. It will show you how many minutes you have remaining. When you get close to the time, it will turn yellow, and then when you're out of time, it will turn red. You'll have 5 minutes.
Okay, Ms. Tammy Fogel. come join us, please. Thank you and welcome.
Hi, I'm not going to take the whole time. I just wanted to take a moment and say that I've been watching and learning for not quite a full year yet, but trying to figure out what's going on and how things work on your end. I'm an educator by profession, so I know how that works, but there's a whole nother ball game on the administrative level. And I just wanted to take time to encourage the public to really utilize the tools you've given us as a public to take advantage of what is on the website as far as the agenda, the packets, the videos, the recordings. All those things really are beneficial to help understanding what work goes on here so that you don't show up to the meeting kind of clueless, because if you look at the agenda, there's not a lot of information, and even if you watch the meeting by itself, you can still miss out on a lot of the good details. And I know that takes staff to put that together, and so I just wanted to just take a moment to say thank you for all the hard work to making it where I really feel like I understand and have tools to be able to be a part of this, even though I don't have the hard job of sitting up there and making all these decisions. So I just wanted to say thank you to the staff, and also thank you for what you do, because there's a lot of good stuff that is discussed here, and it's really important for the public to take time to be aware of it so they can understand better what's happening in the local schools. So
Thank you,
thanks.
Tammy.
Thank you.
Next, with us, we want to invite Phil Crowley to join us at the podium.
The
Welcome.
Honorable Phil Crowley.
The Honorable Phil Crowley, and welcome.
Judge, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm never going to get used to that honorable thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Thank you so much. Good to see you, Dr. Kuhn, Madam President, board members. I'm an AISD product. I think many of y'all know that, and it's always nice to be back on AISD property without homework due. That's always a plus. Always did my homework though, because my mom was a teacher. And I knew if she got a phone call, I was going to be guilty until proven innocent in that capacity. So always tried to stay out of trouble. I'm really just here from the county to extend greetings and also thank you all. Of course, you are the largest school district in Terra County, and we appreciate everything y'all do on a daily basis. The teachers, the staff, the administration, for educating our future workforce here in the county. And I also admire and respect the school board members. So I actually ran for school board back when I was a senior in high school, and I don't want to brag too much, but I got pretty close to being up there. I was 50 percentage points away from being elected. So just missed it by a whisker. So I think I understand a little bit of what y'all do, the hard work, and of course y'all do it purely on a volunteer basis. I know it's a lot of work, so appreciate y'all as well. I'm so excited about the future of AISD. I think sometimes people feel like smaller school districts are better, but as y'all are well aware, AISD has a lot of strengths, and one of those is because you're a bigger district, how many programs you offer to the children in our county and in the district, and a lot of opportunities that smaller school districts can't provide. So I appreciate everything y'all do for that. I was able to take care of those, or take advantage of those opportunities back when I was in school. So appreciate that. Also, I'm so excited about the infill project, that the city is doing with those new houses you're building. I think the district is going to see an influx of new families and children. I'm actually a member of the school district again. I bought a house in one of those subdivisions, and I just think the future is so bright for the school district. So thank you again for what y'all do, and please let me know if the county can ever do anything for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, we appreciate you taking your time to be here, and we also appreciate those tax dollars you're spending in the school district on that house.
Least I can do for everything y'all did for me.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you for being here.
We now move on to item 6, consent agenda. The AISD Board of Trustee meetings are preceded by an in-depth board workshop. Board workshops are held prior to regular meetings, and the purpose of the board workshop meetings is for the board to discuss items in preparation for potential consideration at future board meetings. Meeting times for board meetings and workshops are posted on the AISD website at abileneisd.org. The public is invited to attend. Does a board member wish to remove an item for discussion from the consent agenda? Do I have a motion regarding the items on the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Rodney Goodman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Blair Schrader. We'll now take a roll call of vote. Danny Wheat?
Yes.
Blair Schrader?
Yes.
Rodney Goodman?
Yes.
Taylor Tedmore?
Yes.
Angie Wiley? Yes. No, I'm sorry, yes, Angie Wiley? Nope. This page. Bill Enriquez?
Yes.
Cindy Earls?
Yes.
Angie Wiley, yes. Motion passes 7-0. Next. Hang on. I'm sorry, I printed front and back, and it might not have been a very good idea. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got it. Oh, got it. Okay. At this time, we're going to move on to reports. Item 7A is goal progress monitoring. Goals 1 and 2. Ms. Carrie Thornburg, Executive Director for Elementary Curriculum, and we're going to hear from, help me,
Mandy Joyner.
Mandy Joyner. Sorry, Mandy, I just went blank. She has with her also what part of the curriculum team, but I want to say something first about what goal progress monitoring is. It is an important report to us as a board. We did set board goals for student achievement, and these reports are a way for us that is giving us updates on our goals that we set. So otherwise, we don't know. And so this is something new. We are monitoring student achievement, that they're giving us a way of knowing that student achievement is being monitored. So thank you.
Thanks for that piece. So we didn't have to do that piece.
Go ahead and restate it.
Oh, no, you're great. You're great. So last month, you heard an update about CCMR goal. Today, we're going to give you a brief update, a middle-of-year update about goals 1 and 2, which had to do with our literacy goal and our math goal. So we're using MAP data to show progress in what we would consider students achieving a meets or higher level, equivalent to like STAR tests. Approaches is considered passing on STAR. Meets is where we really are trying to aim for, meets grade level standards, and then above that is masters as well. So it's not a perfect correlation between MAP and STAR, but we have figured out a way to, remember last time I was here, I talked about how it's kind of a bell curve as far as when we have all of the information from MAP testing, and the national norm is like that 50 percentile working on grade level. And so we're really looking at the students who are surpassing that 50th percentile, 61st percentile and above, and correlating that to on target for meets or masters. We look at kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. And so what we put in there for you to look at were these updated charts. So our goal is for by May of this year, with the end of year MAP testing, to get to these percentages of meets or higher of the students of each of those grades. What would you like to say about the literacy? So you can see here where we started in May, or we ended in May of last year with these students. In fall, this is where we were as far as percentages of meets or higher. Now you can see in the winter, not as much progress as we hoped.
And our overall goal is looking at third grade. So our progress monitoring is we're looking at our current kindergartners, current first graders, second graders, and third graders is what you see on the chart there.
So some things that we just want to point out before, Mandy's going to talk to you about some of the things we're doing to try to help teachers in this area. MAP testing and the way that we use this information is coming along. For a couple years, we were taking that test and moving on, and the teachers didn't quite have the tools to know what to do with that information. But then with the help of like Janae Weideman and some other principals, really digging into knowing how to use that information to plan for instruction, to help students get from just, I took the test and I'm moving on, to what do we do with that information? So Manny can talk about what we're trying to do to help with that.
Yes, and in reading, we are fortunate that we also have M-Class assessment. So MAP is completed in December, and M-Class we completed in January. And M-Class data gives foundational skills for reading in kinder, first, and second grade. So we're fortunate that we get to use MAP and M-Class. We have 2 points of data that we can use to drive instruction. So right now, Amy Katara, she is our Reading Academy cohort leader that we were able to hire this past summer. for Abilene ISD. She and I are going around to campuses and dissecting the M-Class data. So it's looking at phonemic awareness, decoding, word reading, fluency, which is going to drive these MAP scores. So that's kind of our busy time right now, is helping teachers look at the M-Class data. And then another big thing that was about to come up, next week we have benchmark assessments, which we take in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. It's the STAR from last year. So Amy and I we'll kind of shift from K2, we'll go to 3 through 5, where we're helping teachers grade the ECR, the Extended Constructed Response, which is the essay. So we'll help them grade the essays, and then we'll be able to help teachers look at their benchmark data and help make some decisions between benchmark and STAR. So those are kind of our 2 big heavy hitters that we're doing right now that are going to help drive the MAP and the STAR scores.
So some things we notice when we look at this information, not a lot of change from the fall to our mid-year testing. With this group of kids, meets or higher of our equivalency. Several things go along with that. The timing of when we take that test, we don't think is the best choice. It's right before Christmas break. So sometimes teachers are trying to just make sure to get that completed. We see a much bigger growth in the spring on this testing than we do from fall to winter, and then from winter to spring. So we're hoping that we're going to be gaining a whole lot of percentage points to get to our May goal. In 1st grade, we're looking good, or in kindergarten, we're looking good. In 1st grade, we took a pretty good dip. And so we're really analyzing what that's telling us with the way we're instructing in 1st grade. Also tells us we're on the right track, looking at what we need to do with curriculum.
Yes.
Okay, so the similar thing that you see in math, you see the same trends that we were just talking about. So Kelly Grigsby, our math coordinator, is not here tonight. She's learning out of town at a conference. But Mandy can share a few more things we're doing in math.
So in both subjects, all the campuses are continuing with the PLC process, either between grade level or vertical PLC process. Kelly and I both have been coaching and planning with teachers all year and modeling with teachers, but Kelly has also been doing a great job of going in and meeting with small groups of students. She goes in and models with the teacher, but she also pulls a group of small kids. She's doing that at a couple of campuses in addition to the things that we normally do. So she has lots of great things going on in math.
And then just to wrap up, we wanted to make sure that we connected with what Dr. Kuhn said about the 14th is a professional development day this coming Friday. So we've been working and planning for that day for, probably for the past couple months, trying to really be specific and targeted. And so with all of our kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade teachers, they are spending half of the day doing PLC work with their groups on their campuses with some really targeted activities. But the other half of the day, Region 14 is helping us out. So all of those K1 and 2 teachers are going to be working with Region 14 on differentiation, specifically with the high achiever and gifted learner. How do we take them from, I'm just doing it, to I'm really doing it because my teacher knows how to instruct me past just what everybody's doing. So we're real excited about being able to meet these kids in different ways with just helping our teachers learn better instruction.
And on Friday, 3rd through 5th grade teachers are going to be with Kelly Grigsby, myself, Jason Barber, and Amy Katara. We'll be at Purcell Elementary, and they'll have half a day to go through the PLC process for their upcoming unit. In the afternoon, they're going to have time to prepare their STAR review. That'll be here sooner than we know it. And throughout the day, I'm really excited. We have teachers leading breakout sessions. So a teacher is going to be able to explain, this is what's working in my classroom, and Q&A back and forth with the other teachers that are attending. So I think that's going to be very beneficial for 3rd through 5th grade.
Can you talk a little bit more about PLCs? There may be some people in the audience who aren't really sure what a PLC is, and even some of our newer board members may be a little bit unclear.
That's great. So professional learning community. So a group of teachers come together and they go through a cycle where they're looking at their upcoming unit, looking at essential standards or essential TEKs that they're going to teach, They create an assessment or find an assessment, and then they backwards plan. So they look at what do I need to do on a daily, basically my daily lesson plans in order to get to that target of where they need to be on the assessment. Throughout that process, they're also giving quick progress checks to see how kids are doing, and then they can either provide intervention or extension for those students along the way. And then at the end, give an assessment, evaluate how the kids are doing, and then continue that process for the upcoming unit.
Thank you. Can I ask y'all one more question? In looking at these results here, we're seeing that it's at the meets grade level and master's grade level. Can y'all talk a little bit about the difference between meets and masters versus approaches, both on maps but also on the STAR?
Sure. So on the STAR test, approaches is considered passing the STAR test. And it depends on the test what percentage that is, and then for meets grade level, it's the next percentage up, and then masters. It's hard to just say, well, this would be like equivalent to a 70%, an 80%, and a 90% because each test is weighted different with the state, but it just goes up level by level. So if you're at a master's level on a STAR test in elementary, that might mean that you are in the equivalent of missing only 2 or 3 questions, would be a 90-something percent.
Yes. And each year, those percentages are not set until after STAR results come out. So we base all of our information on last year's cut scores, and then after this 25 STAR, we'll have the new cut scores for the following year. So, and with the new STAR the last couple of years, with the new item types, those percentages have been they're lower than they were in previous years.
And so that's how we looked at the MAP scores that we get to. And so how would we equivalate that? Equivalate? Is that a good word? How would we break that up to look at where we're looking at a percentage and going forward with that? And so where we all work together would be to decide that 61% or higher would be that meets masters group. Because that's beyond that 50% national norm that we're aiming for on grade level. And the next section down from that was actually 41st to 60th percent. So we wanted to make sure we were catching, not just right here, we're making grade level, but we're surpassing that. So that's how we decided to go with that. Does that help?
Yeah, so I mean, that's what I was getting at really is
Okay.
if we would have included kids that we considered at the approaches level, these passing rates would be much higher, but we're setting our bar up here.
Right, so I looked at that. I didn't bring those numbers to that chart since that wasn't part of this goal. But in looking across kindergarten through 3rd grade in these 2 areas, it was 50% or higher in each of those grades, except for maybe one was at 49%, up to 60-something percent. We're at least at the 50th percentile or higher. So approaches are higher. So.
And one more thing on MAP, there's 5 categories. So there's well below, at benchmark, well above, or above and well above. So we're looking at the above and the well above categories
In class.
Yeah,
looking at this,
and
these charts
I
here.
appreciate you guys doing that. I think that's awesome. One thing y'all need to know about the Texas State Accountability System, which is the A through F rating system for schools, is you get more credit for kids who score on STAR at meets and masters than you do for kids who score at approaches, even though they pass.
Right.
For the school's accountability, the state really wants us pushing kids up to the meets and masters level, so that's what we're trying to do. And I appreciate you guys setting the standard there.
I probably should have asked this question sooner, but, like months ago. Is there an incremented goal set for STAR test results for these goals, or is it just MAPS?
So we have goals set in increments for our North Star goal, which is, the A and B seats.
But not necessarily STAR test results.
And so with these specific goals, this has to do with 3rd grade goals for this. So that backs up to K1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. But locally, campuses each set their own goals for how they're trying to increase their STAR tests.
Okay.
Taking 4th grade reading up this many percentage points, or 5th grade math up this many. So that's on a more of a campus basis that we do holistically.
And one more, do y'all have goals you're trying to reach in the fall and the winter, or is it all just blank until you get to your May goal?
With the map tip, with this goal right here.
Yeah.
So we have gone through, and just to remind you, the goal itself is by August 2027. We're trying to get to a certain place, and so we have made that a May incremental goal each time. So
That's all.
ourselves, we're just trying to get as close to it as we can,
Okay.
but
Okay.
we didn't grow as, to where we wanted to with that. So you want to add that to that, Patty?
I was gonna add real quick, we do have some, intermediate goals. If you look for STAR, under the board goal, it's 40% was where we were in August of '22, and 53% is our goal, for meets in August of '27. Our intermediate goal for 24-25 is 47%. 23-24, we're at 41%. And that's meets or masters. That was the literacy goal. For the math goal, we were at 44% in 2022. And our goal by August of '27 is to be at 66%. 24-25, our goal is to be at 56%. And 23-24, we were at 32%. So we do have those set for STAR as well.
Okay.
You guys are doing a great job. Thank you all so
Yes.
much for presenting. I want to share one more thing just in terms of goals so you guys know. And this is something I've done personally for years and years now. And this is not a publicized goal that we put out in the community. This is something that I've always used as my own personal scoreboard over time. What I watch every year is I look at there are 21 STAR tests for kids, and I always look back several years. 2012 is when STAR started, so I usually look back all the way to 2012, and I look at third grade reading for Abilene ISD students and third grade reading for the state of Texas students. What percentage of the Texas kids got approaches? What percentage of Abilene ISD kids got approaches? And what I look for is, if we're lagging behind, is the trend that we're catching the state. And if we're ahead, is the trend that we're leaving the state in the dust. And that's what I want to see. And so really the number that I look at the most, and this is just for me, this is not something I push off on anybody else, but I always have this data and I always share it, is I want to see us outperforming the state on at least half of the STAR tests. And that's when I know I'm doing a good job as a superintendent, when I see that happen. And so that's something I'll track every year, my whole time here, because it is something where we want to do right by kids. We're competitive. And if the average school in the state of Texas can get something accomplished, there's no reason we in Abilene ISD can't do better than that. And that's what we go for. These goals are awesome because we're talking meets and masters. Mine, I look at approaches, but I really like these goals, and now we just got to meet them. We got to get there.
I just want to hop in real quick and say thank you. Obviously, there's a lot of work that's going into this. So Ms. Thornburg, Ms. Joyner, Ms. Blue, for those who are starting to pay more attention, as is talked about earlier tonight, we've got a long way to go, but we're not going to get there just because we hope to get there. We actually have to set a course, chart a plan, and then measure it accordingly. So as y'all are going to hear more of us talking about these goal progress measures and how we're trying to get there, keep in mind, goals need to have certain qualities to make sure that it's a pathway. So when you hear us talk about goal progress measures, they are measurable. They include a specific target population. They're going to establish a baseline so we know where we're at so we can determine where we're going. They're going to have a specific goal in mind, and it's going to have a deadline. And so when we talk about accountability with educational outcomes, that's what we're talking about. So if you're parents and you're wondering when you hear our goals talking about X number of students in A and B schools by a certain year, we're not just going to wake up one day and get there. It's going to take time. And so y'all are the ones on the front lines putting in that time, working with folks who are going through the day-to-day grind in the classroom, trying to make sure that everybody's needs are met, while at the same time not just doing a good thing, but doing the best thing for our kids and their outcome that we try to get to. So thank you for your work. Thank you so much for the time and dedication and your patience as we're pushing on some things that we know need to be pushed on. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We're glad to share as much as we can and get you information when we don't have it.
I feel like I remember hearing this at some point, but we really focus on K through 3 in this math and literacy because I think I remember hearing if kids aren't on track by third grade, then there's a decent chance they're never going to be on track. And so that's really what we're wanting, is our kids to be on track by third grade, correct?
Correct. That's correct, yes. And we're really turning our attention towards, just like with the PD on Friday, not just the struggling kids. You can't just work with the kids who are having a hard time getting up to grade level. You've got to pull everybody up in order to make a difference for all of the kids and for your campuses and districts. So we got to get them all on grade level and then just keep pulling them up. You're exactly right.
I just kind of want to echo what Blair said. I mean, I do appreciate that y'all are bringing us this information now at every board meeting. I mean, I love athletics, I love fine arts, but really we're here for our kids' academic success. And so this helps keep all of us accountable to make sure, you know, we're moving this district in the direction we want it to go. So thanks for all your hard work. I know your whole curriculum instruction team is doing a great job, so keep it up. Thanks.
Thank you.
We also know it's hard to report when it's not ideally the best numbers reportable, but we're on your team and we can't help unless we know everything. So we appreciate that.
Well, they tell their own story, so we just need to tell you what we're going to do with it, and so that's what we're trying
right
to do.
here with you.
So we appreciate your support in helping us do that, and so keep fighting the good fight with us. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all.
We're now going to move on to items recording board action. Item 8A, policy FL local, which refers to directory information. Dr. Jordan Zemer, once again.
All right, good evening, Madam President, Dr. Kuhn, and members of the board. It's good to see you again. So I have as we did last week at the workshop, we're going to fire everybody up with some policy talk here once again at the end of the meeting tonight. So policy FL local, I want to give you the background. I want to remind you the background of the policy discussion last week, and then talk about really quickly what's under consideration for you tonight. So FL legal, the legal side of the policy that comes from the state, establishes student education record maintenance. And one of the things that it does, one type of information that this policy establishes our kind of rules over, parental rights and procedures over, is directory information. You can see there in that sub-bullet, I have I'm not going to go point by point like I did last time, but that sub-bullet has the definition of directory information for you there generally, right? Generally, this is information contained in an education record that would not be considered harmful or an invasion of privacy if disclosed. In other words, this is not going to be personally identifiable information like a social security number or a student ID number. And FL Legal also authorizes the district to make directory information available to the public upon request. That means that however you define directory information, if we were to receive a public information request for that information, the district would be obligated to turn it over to the requester. And that would include a vendor or a third party requesting directory information. So the thing that we are suggesting that you consider is your definition on the local side of the policy of directory information. So this is again your policy here, and this is what is currently written in our policy manual. So the categories of information that are subject to public disclosure currently, according to the way FL Local is written in our policy manual, is student name, address, telephone listing, electronic mail address, photograph, date and place of birth, and other items. The reason why I put those in bold for you, and the reason we're suggesting your consideration of an adjustment to this policy, is we would suggest that if a parent were to learn that a third party like a vendor requested through the public information request channel our directory information, we would be obligated to give them this information as the policy stands today. Okay? So again, if a vendor were to say, I want your directory information, if a parent has not chosen to opt out of listing that information, we would be obligated under the Texas Public Information Act to give addresses, telephone listings, electronic mail addresses, photographs. And I would suggest that there are some parents who, even though directory information is technically considered non-invasive, would say that's pretty invasive. And they might not be appreciative of Abilene ISD giving out their contact information or address information to a vendor for solicitation. I think they might have an issue with that. And so we, paying attention to this policy, we reached out to some other districts and then also to our consultants with TASB to ask what might an adjustment look like if the district was interested in changing this policy to protect that information on behalf of our parents and families and students and community members. So here is the proposed revision. I've just put the language right on screen for you. You can see up front in red that what is currently in red is what is currently in the policy. That's what's currently in your FL local. What TASB recommended to us is what's in blue. What this would do, if you were to consider and adopt this tonight, what this would do is allow us to, as the revision states, classify directory information into two separate categories. One category would be for school-sponsored purposes only. In other words, our publications, our announcements would be information we would control for our purposes, and the other category would be for all other purposes. In other words, general purposes that we could release through the Public Information Act. Okay? So the school-sponsored purposes list, you can see there, for the following school-sponsored purposes, all district publications and announcements, directory information shall include student name, and here you'll see that language again, address, telephone listing, photograph, date and place of birth. In other words, the sensitive information that's in the current definition for all purposes would become school-sponsored purposes information only. And then the all other purposes category, which would be the big bucket, right, that we would have, we wouldn't exercise as much maintenance over or control over if it were to be requested, would be for all of the purposes, directory information shall include student name, honors and awards received, and you can see the rest of that list. In other words, the district would receive a request for directory information, and the question we would ask ourselves, if the policy were to be rewritten this way, would be what's the purpose? We're allowed to, under this revision, ask ourselves, what is the purpose of the request? Is it a school-sponsored purpose, or is this a third-party external vendor looking for information? We can now ask ourselves that question and then decide what level of information to deliver to the requester. So that is the gist of the policy consideration for you. And so at this time, I'm happy to take questions. Please let me know what you'd like to know.
What procedure do you use to opt out?
So that typically happens during our registration process. Families have the ability to, and anybody in the audience who knows better about that process than me, feel free to correct me. But my understanding is parents have the ability to select information they list in the directory or not during registration. Am I right on that? Yes, I'm seeing lots of nodding, which makes me feel good about myself.
But does that mean we don't have them? I mean, not we as in us, but the district does not have the access to that information, or
It
we
means-
just can't hand it out when it's asked for? I mean,
No, so that's right. If the parent has chosen to opt out,
right, what does that mean?
that means that if someone were to request the informational directory,
Okay.
that information wouldn't be included. But if the parent hasn't chosen to opt out and that information has been listed, it would be released.
Okay.
As the policy is currently written.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just turned it off. Okay, is there any more questions for Dr. Zemer? Is there a motion regarding policy FL local?
I move to approve the policy FL local as presented.
Thank you, Blair Schrader. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Danny Wheat. We'll now take a roll call vote. Rodney Goodman,
Yes.
Angie Wiley, yes. Taylor Tidmore,
Yes.
Bill Enriquez,
Yes.
Cindy Earls. Yes. Blair Schrader,
Yes.
Danny Wheat.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Before we go on to the next, I would like to take a minute. I don't have the information on your troop, but I do see a group of Boy Scouts in the back row. Would one of you like to come up and introduce yourself to us? Sorry about missing you earlier. Thank you. Because once we take that last vote, it's a gavel out and we're out of here. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Darrell Parrish. The 4 boys I have with me are from Boy Scout Troop 3. We are the oldest troop in West Texas.
Oh, wow.
We are called Troop 3 because the other 2 troops ahead of us have already folded several years ago. We are here because the boys are working on their citizenship in the community merit badge. And one of the requirements is to attend either a school board meeting or a city council meeting. Well, it's a little tough to do a city council meeting if it's at 8:30 in the morning on a Monday. So that would mean they'd miss school. Not that they wouldn't appreciate that, but that's the reason we're here. And they're supposed to be taking notes, so we have to go home or go back to and we will be leaving shortly because our Boy Scout meeting is on the same night. It starts at 7, but we'll be a little late.
A little late. Will you gentlemen stand and let us just see who you are, and thank you so much. Oh, and lady, I'm sorry, and young lady. Great.
Thank y'all so much for being here tonight. We're so happy to have you.
Okay. Now, the next item of action is, we'll now move to items covered during closed session. The board will consider approval, we'll need a motion. Is there a motion regarding personnel recommendations? There we go.
I move to approve the personnel recommendation for executive director for secondary curriculum and instruction as presented in closed session.
Thank you. Ms. Earls, do we have a second?
A second.
Billy? We'll now take a roll call vote. Angie Wiley, yes. Rodney Goodman?
Yes.
Cindy Earls?
Yes.
Bill Enriquez?
Yes.
Danny Wheat?
Yes.
Blair Schrader?
Yes.
Taylor Tidmore?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Can I ask our new Executive Director of Secondary Curriculum Instruction, Ms. Lindsay Williamson, to come up to the podium and say hello? Surprise. I just want to say welcome to this position. We're very excited to see what you can do.
Thank you. I'm excited. Bittersweet, but excited. Yeah, it's gonna be a good move. Thank you.
Probably some tears this afternoon.
A little bit, yes. I've gotten most of them out of the way, but yeah, I'm
Well,
excited.
you're going to do a great job, and I can't wait to see you apply your expertise to secondary curriculum to benefit the entire district. So welcome, and thank you very much, Lindsay.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yes,
that.
thank you. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. The time is 6:59.
Thank you, everyone, for your attendance.